There's a weight here tonight that I can't quite put my finger on. It sits somewhere between anticipation and dread, between wanting to move forward and feeling the pull of something unresolved tugging at your sleeve. I keep sensing this energy of someone standing at a crossroads they didn't expect to find themselves at, like life opened a door you weren't looking for, and now you're standing in the threshold, wondering if you should step through or run back to what you knew. I'm picking up on confusion. Not the kind that comes from not knowing what you want, but the kind that comes from suddenly realizing what you want might be possible, and that possibility terrifies you more than the longing ever did. There's someone new here. I feel them arriving like a weather system moving in, slow at first, then suddenly everywhere. And what's fascinating is how their presence isn't just creating something new, it's illuminating everything else. It's like someone turned on a light in a room you thought you knew, and now you're seeing corners you never noticed, shadows you never questioned. Let's just breathe into this for a moment, because what I'm sensing is layered. Complex. There's a before and an after forming around you, and you're caught somewhere in the middle, still wearing the clothes of your old life while feeling the temperature change of something beginning. I keep hearing the phrase, "this isn't a joke," in my own mind, and it makes me wonder if part of you keeps waiting for the punchline. For the moment when this new person, this new possibility, reveals itself to be less than it seems. Because that's what you're used to, aren't you? You're used to things that shimmer eventually proving themselves to be ordinary. You're used to hope being a setup for disappointment. But what if this time is different? What I'm sensing around this new energy is something that feels almost disruptive in its sincerity. This isn't someone playing games or testing waters. This feels like someone who has arrived with their whole heart in their hands, not because they're naive, but because they've learned that half measures are more painful than vulnerability. And that kind of presence, it's disorienting when you've been living in a world of guarded texts and calculated silences. I'm hearing something like, they don't know how to be casual. This person doesn't know how to enter your life quietly or partially. They're not asking for a corner of your attention, they're bringing their full self into the room, and that fullness is forcing you to confront how much you've been accepting less than that from others. From yourself. There's a memory loop happening here too. I can feel it. Your mind keeps circling back to before, to the version of love you thought you understood, to the person who taught you that caring too much was a liability. I sense you're replaying old conversations, old hurts, not because you want to, but because some part of you is trying to solve them. Trying to understand where you went wrong so you don't make the same mistakes again. But here's what the energy keeps repeating, you didn't go wrong. You were simply more committed to the idea of love than someone else was capable of being. You loved harder. You stayed longer. You believed when there was no evidence to support that belief. And that wasn't foolishness, that was courage. That was the heart they underestimated. I keep coming back to that phrase, the heart they underestimated. Because someone did. Someone looked at your capacity for love, your willingness to forgive, your hope that things could get better, and they treated it like it was weakness. Like it was something they could take for granted indefinitely. They thought you'd always be there, always understanding, always ready to meet them where they were instead of asking them to rise to where you were. And maybe they still think that. Maybe somewhere in their consciousness, they believe that door remains open, that you're still waiting in that old room, preserving space for them just in case they decide to want it again. But the energy is shifting. I feel it changing here. Because this new person, they're not asking you to wait. They're not asking you to shrink or compromise or explain why you feel so deeply. They're looking at exactly what someone else overlooked, and they're recognizing it as rare. As precious. As something worth protecting instead of exploiting. This is creating an awakening of guilt, but not the kind you might expect. This isn't about you feeling guilty. This is about someone else beginning to sense, perhaps not even consciously yet, that they made a profound miscalculation. That the person they treated as replaceable, as convenient, as always available was actually irreplaceable. And now someone else is seeing what they refused to see. I can almost feel the silence of that realization. Someone is sitting with their own thoughts lately, and those thoughts aren't comfortable. They're seeing your social media, or hearing about you from mutual friends, or simply feeling the void where your energy used to be, and they're beginning to understand that void is permanent. That you didn't just step back, you stepped forward. Into something that doesn't include them. The emotional breakdown is happening in silence. I sense someone breaking apart behind a composed face, behind "I'm happy for you" texts that they don't mean, behind casual mentions of your name that they immediately regret because saying it out loud makes the loss more real. They're watching you bloom in this new light, and it's illuminating every way they failed to water you. Every time they took your growth for granted. Every time they chose comfort over courage, silence over communication, their needs over your nourishment. And here's what's complicated, part of you knows this. Some intuitive part of you senses that someone from your past is struggling with your happiness. Not because you want them to suffer, but because you've been the one suffering for so long that there's a strange symmetry to it. A strange validation in realizing that your pain was seen, even if it wasn't acknowledged in time. But I want to be careful here, because what I'm sensing in you is a temptation to look backward even as you step forward. There's a version of them that failed you, yes, but there's also a version of you that still wants to believe they could become someone else. Someone better. Someone capable of giving you what this new person is offering so effortlessly. I keep hearing, "But what if they've changed?" whispered in the back of your mind. What if the timing was wrong before? What if your happiness is making them realize what they lost, and what if that realization has transformed them? These are natural questions. Human questions. But the energy keeps repeating a message: transformation born of loss is not the same as transformation born of love. Someone changing because they fear losing you is not the same as someone choosing you without the threat of your absence. One is reaction. The other is recognition. This new person, they recognized you. They saw you clearly from the beginning, not through the lens of their own unhealed wounds or their fear of intimacy. They saw your depth and didn't run from it. They saw your history and didn't use it against you. They saw your hesitation and chose patience instead of pressure. That's rare. That's the love that feels irreplaceable, not because you couldn't find love elsewhere, but because this particular alchemy of being seen, being chosen, being safe, it's shifting something fundamental in you. I'm sensing you're having moments where you forget to be guarded. Where you laugh before you can catch yourself, where you share something vulnerable without planning the words first, where you reach for your phone to tell them something mundane because you know they'll find it interesting, not because you're performing connection but because you're actually experiencing it. These moments are terrifying and exquisite, aren't they? They feel like stepping off solid ground, like learning to trust gravity after believing for so long that you would always fall alone. There's more to this than first appeared. At first, this looked like a simple story of moving on, of new love replacing old hurt. But now it feels more like integration. Like you're being asked to hold multiple truths at once. That you can honor what you felt before without letting it dictate what you feel now. That you can understand someone's limitations without forgiving them at your own expense. That you can be compassionate toward the past while being committed to the present. The energy changes here. It becomes lighter, but also more serious. Because this new person isn't just offering you romance. They're offering you a mirror that reflects your wholeness instead of your brokenness. And that reflection is asking you to become someone new, not by changing who you are, but by finally being allowed to become who you've always been beneath the armor. Have you noticed how your sleep has changed lately? Or how you're remembering dreams you used to suppress? Your subconscious is processing this shift, integrating the reality that safety doesn't have to be boring, that passion doesn't have to be painful, that love can be both exciting and secure. Does this feel familiar? this sensation of being known? Or is it so foreign that part of you keeps waiting for the other shoe to drop? I'm sensing both in your field, the recognition of home and the fear that home will be taken away. And that's okay. That's human. You've been taught that love is temporary, that attachment leads to loss, that happiness is just the setup for a harder fall. But what if this time, the fall is into something that catches you? I'm hearing something like, stop bracing for impact. The energy keeps repeating that you're allowed to enjoy this without preparing for its end. That you can build something without keeping one foot out the door. That the person in front of you is not a placeholder or a distraction or a lesson, they're a choice. A mutual choice. And choices require risk, yes, but they also require trust. There's a quiet realization I want to offer you, something that's been building as I've sat with these cards. You keep looking for signs that this new person will fail you the way others did. You're scanning for red flags, for inconsistencies, for the moment when their mask slips. And vigilance has kept you safe before, so I understand the instinct. But what if the red flag is that there are no red flags? What if the sign you've been waiting for is the absence of drama, the presence of consistency, the quiet reliability of someone who says what they mean and means what they say? That absence can feel like a trap when you're used to chaos. Like the calm before a storm that never comes. But sometimes calm is just calm. Sometimes peace is just peace. And sometimes, someone new comes into your life not to change everything by creating turmoil, but to change everything by ending the cycle of it. You might be wondering about timing. About whether it's too soon, or whether you're ready, or whether you're bringing too much baggage into something fresh. The energy suggests that timing is rarely perfect, but alignment is recognizable. And you two are aligned in ways that matter, in values, in emotional availability, in the willingness to do the work of building something real. This isn't a rebound, though I sense you've worried about that. Rebounds are about escaping the past. This is about finally having a future that doesn't reference the past at every turn. This new person doesn't exist in reaction to who hurt you, they exist in recognition of who you are. I'm sensing someone watching this who needs to hear that it's okay to let someone love you without earning it first. Without proving your worth through suffering or sacrifice. This person isn't keeping score. They're not waiting for you to reach some arbitrary threshold of deservingness. They simply see you, and in seeing you, they choose you. Daily. Actively. Without resentment or tally. That's the awakening that's happening here. Not just an awakening of someone else's guilt, but your own awakening to the fact that love doesn't have to hurt to be real. That you don't have to translate someone's affection through the filter of your insecurities. That you can accept care without immediately calculating how you'll pay it back or when it will be withdrawn. There's a version of you that's been waiting in the wings, you know. The version that laughs easily, that trusts instinctively, that doesn't flinch at gentle touch because she's not bracing for it to turn rough. That version of you is stepping forward now, and she's looking around with wonder, realizing that the stage has changed. The audience is different. The script has been rewritten. And yes, there's grief mixed with this joy. Grief for the time spent in smaller spaces. Grief for the versions of yourself that had to become hard to survive. Grief for the relationships that taught you love was a currency you had to earn rather than a climate you could simply exist within. Let yourself feel that grief. It's not a betrayal of your current happiness to mourn what you endured to reach it. In fact, honoring that pain is what allows you to fully occupy this new space. If you skip over the processing, you carry the unhealed wounds into the present, and they leak out as sabotage or numbness or the inability to fully receive what you're being offered. So breathe with me for a moment. Acknowledge the road that brought you here. The detours. The dead ends. The moments you sat down in the dust and wondered if you'd ever get up again. You got up. You're here. And someone is standing beside you who makes the journey feel not just worthwhile, but meaningful in ways you couldn't have anticipated. The energy keeps circling back to this theme of underestimation. Someone underestimated your heart, yes, but I think you may have underestimated it too. You thought you were broken beyond repair. You thought your capacity for wonder was used up. You thought that after everything, you'd be too guarded, too cynical, too tired to start again with someone new. But your heart is wiser than your fear. It knew how to recognize this person. It knew how to soften when safety was present. It knew, even when your mind was listing all the reasons to hold back, that this was different. That this was allowed. That this was yours to have. I'm sensing a hesitation about sharing this happiness with others. Part of you wants to protect it, to keep it private until you're sure it's solid. Part of you fears that saying it out loud will jinx it, will invite commentary or skepticism or the well-meaning warnings of people who don't understand that you've already done the risk assessment. You've already weighed the potential pain against the present joy, and you've chosen to be brave. That's worth celebrating, even if quietly. Even if only between you and this new person and the universe that conspired to bring you together. You don't owe anyone a performance of caution. You don't need to prove you're being smart about this by maintaining emotional distance. You're allowed to be all in. You're allowed to hope out loud. There's more to this than it first appeared. What seemed like a simple new connection is actually a fundamental shift in how you relate to love itself. You're learning that love can be a source of energy rather than depletion. That it can expand your world rather than shrink it. That it can include your growth rather than demand your stagnation. This person supports your evolution. They don't feel threatened by your success, your friendships, your independence. They're not trying to fit you into a prefabricated role or solve you like a puzzle. They're simply with you. Present. Consistent. Real. And that reality is dismantling old structures in your psyche. The belief that you have to choose between passion and stability. The fear that if someone really knew you, they'd leave. The pattern of attracting people who needed you more than they loved you. All of that is being rewritten, line by line, day by day, touch by touch. I keep coming back to the silence of someone's emotional breakdown. Not to revel in it, but to acknowledge that endings have their own integrity. Someone is learning their lessons too, in their own time, in their own way. And you don't have to manage their process. You don't have to soften the blow or preserve their ego or pretend you weren't hurt so they don't have to feel guilty. Your happiness is your own. Your healing is your own. This new chapter is yours to write without editorial input from anyone who chose not to be in it. Have you noticed how your body is responding to this shift? The unclenching of muscles you didn't know were tight? The deeper breaths? The way you're carrying yourself differently, standing taller, making eye contact without that flinch of expecting rejection? Your nervous system is learning a new language, and it's speaking it with increasing fluency. The love that feels irreplaceable isn't about this person being your only chance at happiness. It's about them being the catalyst that helped you recognize your own irreplaceability. Through their eyes, you're seeing yourself as someone worth choosing, worth keeping, worth building a life around. And that self-concept, once established, doesn't leave even if circumstances change. You've been upgraded at the level of identity, and that changes everything. I'm hearing something like, they're not going anywhere. The energy keeps repeating a message of permanence, not as a guarantee against all of life's unpredictability, but as a commitment to showing up within whatever comes. This person isn't promising you a problem-free future. They're promising you partnership within the problems. And that's more valuable than any fantasy of perfect ease. As we come toward the close of this reading, I want to sit with the complexity of what you're experiencing. It's not just joy. It's joy mixed with disorientation, with the vertigo of rapid change, with the strange grief of leaving behind versions of yourself that, while painful, were familiar. It's excitement mixed with the fear of disappointment, hope mixed with the memory of hope being dashed. All of this is valid. All of this is part of the process. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to be completely healed to be worthy of this love. You just have to be honest about where you are and willing to grow from here. Someone new has come into your life and it's changing everything. That's not hyperbole, that's the truth of transformation. When the right person arrives at the right time, they don't just add to your life, they restructure it. They reveal new possibilities. They make the impossible feel inevitable. Trust this. Not blindly, not recklessly, but with the earned wisdom of someone who has survived enough to know the difference between escapism and expansion. This is expansion. This is growth. This is the universe responding to your readiness by delivering exactly what you needed but didn't know how to ask for. You're not imagining this energy. You're not making it mean more than it does. If anything, you're probably still underestimating it, still holding back from fully receiving it, still waiting for the catch. But what if there is no catch? What if this is simply what happens when you finally stop accepting less than you deserve? Let yourself be surprised by goodness. Let yourself be loved without reservation. Let yourself step into this new chapter not as a victim of your past, but as the author of your present. The heart they underestimated has found someone who recognizes its true measure. And that recognition is changing everything, exactly as it should. Breathe that in. Let it settle into your bones. You are allowed to be happy. You are allowed to be chosen. You are allowed to believe that this time is different, because this time, you're different too. And that difference, that growth, that clarity, that refusal to settle, is what made this new beginning possible. Rest in that tonight. Trust the unfolding. And know that whatever comes next, you have everything you need to meet it. Not because you're guaranteed a perfect outcome, but because you've finally learned that you're perfect enough exactly as you are, and someone else sees that too. That changes everything. And it's only just begun.